on today's episode. Should Marilyn Manson be hated by all? Will the phoenix rising get him in the end? Glenn rants about the non-Gen X Gen X's. Erik tries to convince us all why we should love the band Ghost. The brothers debut new music from Bauhaus, Drink the Wine. Is it goth enough? Find out now.
Coming to you from one of the most resourceful, independent, and badass generations of all time. Welcome to the Gen X Brothers Podcast. Join Erik and Glenn, two half-brothers that make up one hell of a show.
Alrighty.
Hello, what's up, my underground music lovers?
What's up, people? My mouth is still burning from last week. I'm shocked I didn't get the fire ass like I thought I was going to get it. My stomach
didn't hurt that bad?
Yeah, I mean, my stomach hurt really bad, but I was on the toilet. I do admit I was on the toilet at least 2 times, but I was expecting this really fucking painful fire ass, rather maybe put some ice cubes on my ass, but that didn't happen. Surprising. But maybe, I don't know.
So if you're wondering, you're talking to the man with fire, not fire ass. That's my brother, Erik. I am Glenn, and we are the Gen X Brothers. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the podcast. So how you doing, Erik? You said you don't have the fire ass.
I could say, I'm proud to say I survived the one-chip challenge. It took me almost 3 years to get the balls up to do or whatever, because I used to have the lollipop, and that's still in my closet. Yeah, man. I just, is there a T-shirt? Do I get at least a T-shirt saying I survived the one chip?
I survived the one chip.
Yeah. What about Davey 504, man? Are you taking our challenge or what? Come on, dude.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything from him yet, motherfucker. Come on, dude.
He's hiding, man. Chicken. Mr. Bassman, slap. Slap that.
Your shirt would
chip.
say, I survived the challenge and my ass is still intact.
Yeah, that's a good one. Put that on my shirt.
I got lucky. No, yeah. So I want to talk about something here real quick, Erik, and maybe you can relate. I'm sure you can. Obviously, we've been getting a lot of dipshits on TikTok. We have our shit going on there. We have a lot of stuff that we're talking about. Little clips from the podcast.
Yep.
The main thing I want to say is what makes Generation X so great? I'm going to tell you, I'm going to let you in on this, because what happens is there's a certain number of people out there. They act like they're part of some great revolution being part of Generation X. All right. All the while they're telling my brother, Erik, that we shouldn't be part of Generation X, that we should change our name, that we should be erased from it. When in reality, these people had nothing to do with the shaping of such a great time in history. Because let me tell you something, if it was up to these people, we would still be living in year 0. Fucking Jesus Christ, the year of the Lord. That's these motherfuckers. No electricity, no fucking toilets. Because while the revolution was going on during the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, the revolution for freedom, alternative music, anime, oddities, atheism, you name it, this shit was going on.
And real bands that played real instruments. They played live, and we had the best metal bands.
And I'll tell you what, if it was up to these people, the ones that are complaining, they're saying that we're not part of Generation X, we wouldn't have Nirvana, we wouldn't have computers, we wouldn't have cable TV, MTV, fuck it. We wouldn't even have space travel, because these fucking people, they're so fucking ass backwards from the beginning of their lives, living in rural America, milking their fucking cows, growing wheat, fucking their sheep, that they don't even understand what made Gen X so great. But they're more than happy to fucking take credit for it and claim it as their own, as if they had something to do with it, when you know damn well that they fought it every step of the way. Every time there was some kind of, hey, we're going to go to space. Oh, no, the devil's in space. That's against the law of God. And now they're telling us, Erik and Glenn, that we can't be a part of Generation X. Fuck you. We're the Generation X outcasts. We're the one that made it what it is today.
We're the ones that defrauded Columbia House for 12 cassettes for a penny before anyone.
Fuck yeah.
At 10 years old. Motherfuckers. Got a rap sheet.
Now, did I sound like the Young Turks on that?
No. What generation are they anyway?
I have no idea, but they always do those rants. So
yeah. So what are millennials? Are the ones that are millennials the ones that kind of complain the most about everything, or is it? Let me ask you this: when did MTV stop playing videos or music and actually start putting on Teen Mom? What year was that around? That's exactly when society started to go downhill. Is when they started putting on Teen Mom,
Real
Jersey
World.
Shore, Real World.
Yeah, exactly. When they turned into a reality show rather than a music show.
And I think that's responsible for that generation that came after that, or within that, or whatever. And it's just,
well, I think
because obviously the kids who were watching that were teenagers, or probably young kids that were watching those shows, and then they grew up to be Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene.
And I think they realized that they could complain and whine about everything and manipulate everyone to feel sorry for them, you know. But again, it just pisses me off that we get these people telling us, "Oh, you shouldn't be part of change your name, dude." Like, I don't know how many comments we get on our TikTok of people saying, "Change your name. You shouldn't be part of Generation X."
What do they at least suggest any names for us?
Yeah, no suggestions.
That's typical.
All right, guys, if you're one of the ones complaining, fucking give us a suggestion. You know, put the money where your mouth is. You know, don't fucking make a statement if you don't got something to back it up. Stupid asses. I just thought I would put it out there. And obviously now, speaking of things that I should understand and be more open-minded of, so I could be a complete hypocrite, I'm going to ask you, Erik, do me a favor, because I'm not the biggest fan, but convince me why I should like Ghost. Because you've been talking about Ghost.
I don't know. Okay, something about this album, and and I like Goth. I've always liked them. Obviously Iron Maiden's my number one favorite band, and I ran that new album, to death. Senjutsu, played it over and over and over. But this new album, for some reason, I've never had an album where, like, not even when I'm playing it, and it's been out for 2 weeks now, Impera by Ghost, and it's still in my head. I'll listen to, I was listening to Judas Priest today, and once I was done, a song from Impera came in my head, and it just kept going and going and going on repeat. And even when I'm not listening to it, and there's something about what Tobias Forge, who created Ghost and everything, there's something magical he's doing. I don't know if it's in the blood in Sweden, because if you notice, most Sweden artists or bands or singers, pop singers or whatever.
ABBA, for one.
Yeah, ABBA. Like,
I love
ABBA. I don't know what it is. Like, they just know how to write these songs that just get in your head, and it's like, and I don't like earworms. I hate when a song gets over and over and over in the head, especially if it's a bad song. But these guys happen to have really good songs. Music is subjective, and we can't expect everyone to like whatever. There's always going to be. It's just a matter of how you listen to it, when you listen to it. I think what I love about them is that they're number one everywhere. This album is. Check this out. Here's how bad I am. Got 6 versions of it. Here's the CD. 6
versions. What the fuck is wrong with you?
The Walmart version, the Target version, the indie store version, the regular black vinyl version, and they all come with something different, like a poster, stickers.
Erik, I think you better just spread your legs and call yourself a groupie.
Damn, I'm definitely a groupie with this. And then, I got to see him live, and that was such a killer concert. Then I even rewatched the concert on YouTube because somebody had a really good version, from their cell phone. And I don't know, it's just it's inspiring. Because I love, me, I've always been a fan of just melodic. I love just really well-written songs. And I don't know what I can say to convince you, but I just know that they're well-crafted songs. And I think this guy is really onto something. I think he really knows how to, because the fact that, and the funny thing is that a lot of the music is about Satanism. It's about religious oppression, the atrocities that the churches, hypocrisies of Christianity and all kinds of stuff. Even like in this new album, there's a little bit of a sense of humor about Donald Trump and Pence, because he's totally, this whole album is based on the fall and rise of empires. And if anything, he's almost predicting what Putin was doing, because this album was obviously recorded before the invasion, just like their album called Prequel. That was actually about the Black Plague. And then all of a sudden we get COVID after that album. So it's kind of weird. This guy's on to something. And he comes from a background that was it's a pop band. Like he even though he's metal, he's always been lumped into the metal scene. And a lot of people are just disappointed in Ghost because they think, oh, they're not metal no more. It's like, to me, when I first heard them, that first album, I knew they had a metal sound, but there was something different. They were incorporating like these 60s psychedelic sounds and melodies and just like kind of pop stuff that I just thought worked really well. Like there's bands that could do that, but they just don't get away with it the way this band that I feel gets away with it. And the
yeah, I mean, I took the time to listen to it when you told me, I've tried to listen to him before, and listen, I appreciate it. I understand. I was listening to the intricacy of the guitar and the stuff that's going on, and you can definitely hear like the 70s vibe, like Boston or
that's what I like about this,
ELO type of thing, where it's just like this. And the I don't know, there's like this clash in my brain, and it's probably my fault, because sometimes when I listen to new music, I have to be in a right mind space in order to go, oh shit, that's great. Like if I'm in a sad mood and I listen to a band, but with them, there's just something clashing in my brain with the way the vocals are structured and the way he sings it, and then the costume at the same time.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I thought it was cool.
I just can't get into it.
And they had the Indy NASCAR race that happened a couple of weeks ago called something Rentals, whatever. It's like a big Indy race. And, NASCAR is very Bible Belt, right-wing Christian. Yeah. And Ghost had a car in it. Like the driver, I forgot what his name was, but he had his car all decked out with the Ghost album cover, which obviously has upside-down crosses on it and everything. So I thought that was so cool that they actually got into that, into NASCAR, and then I forgot about Jimmy Kimmel. So in the number one, and I think it's just cool because he found a way of capturing people's attention with this catchy music that we all kind of grew up with in the 80s, with Boston and ELO, and just be able to, and Queen, even I hear a lot of Queen in there, some Rush. And there's a lot of people that try to write that style of music or try to write that formula, but they just cannot get it right. And I just think this guy's got it right. Like, I think he actually really did his homework on how to structure songs and really.
Well, they're definitely progressive. It's definitely a progressive sound.
It's progressive. It's pop and catchy. There's even one song that sounds like it could be a Backstreet Boys song, but they do it so cool because the lyrics are about like sacrificing to the Lord, and all it's all about the hypocrisy of Christianity, all these other religions, and again,
but I can see where they're the type of band where you actually for me, I don't have the time at the moment to sit down and listen to something and have it bleed into me and go, oh, that's fucking cool. So maybe that's why I can't get into it. Like, it's the type of band that you really have to commit to. That's
what kind of got me into them more, because when I first heard the second album, it was Opus something, or no, Opus was the first album, and I can never say the name of their albums because they're so long, the titles, but second album anyway, Papa 2.
Papa 2.
Yeah, so it took me a while to really kind of like it until I actually sat down and read the lyrics, and then I started kind of trying to figure out, are they changing singers ever? Because this was before anyone knew who Tobias was. The whole idea was they were going to just be completely, anonymous or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So we still got the ghoul, what they call the ghouls, the nameless ghouls. They're always going to be anonymous. But what happened? There was a lawsuit that happened where I guess some old disgruntled band members wanted to sue him for like song rights or something like that. Whereas he writes most of the music, but I'm sure he has co-writers as well. So he had to name his identity in public. So that's why Tobias Forge.
So were they trying to out him on purpose, or were they just trying to get money or recognition for being part of it?
Mostly recognition, and just, I guess, due to courts and legal stuff, his name had to be out in the public, and so that's why everyone knew, oh, this is Tobias Forge. And I guess he used to be in a band called Subvision, which was a popular pop band in Sweden. Right?
That's why he wanted to keep it.
Yeah, and their music's actually kind of good. I'm thinking like this guy's like knows how to write. But anyway, so the fact that they changed these papas and they got this whole image going where it's like it's Papa 1, Papa 2, and then Cardinal 1, Cardinal 2, and it's the same guy. But if you go on YouTube, there's chapter 1, chapter 2, and it tells kind of the story of like this whole. It's obviously they're creating like this image and this theatrical thing.
Storyline.
Storyline. There's definitely a storyline to it.
Well, let me ask you real quick then. Let me clarify something. Okay, so each album has the illusion that there's a new singer because he has a different voice. He has a different
look. I
thought
they were changing band members. I think they can't be getting new singers. Maybe it's a different band member changing into the singer or something. But yeah.
But it is actually the same person. He's just doing.
And when they do live,
take.
Here's what's cool they do live. So at the end of every tour, like at the end of this tour, they're going to do somewhere that these people come out on stage, these nuns and stuff, and they do some kind of extravagant thing. And then you see Papa, and he disappears, and he comes back as a new Papa. And if you follow the storyline on YouTube, it's got the old Papa. He's called Papa Nearly, like the old one. He's got to bless the new guy, and the new guys could be like the new Papa's been kind of sarcastic and flamboyant. That's why the music. They say that actually the music for each album is supposed to reflect the personality of that Papa. So that's why like these last two albums have been kind of more pop-ish, because even the last album, the singer had more of like a Las Vegas kind of frontman kind of feel, whatever. But the music was
so
really
basically
cool.
he's writing, in other words, like the band is basically writing like a script for each album, and it's progressing each time. I mean, that's a cool concept. And
it's just a big production. And I think that's
that.
why it's taken off so big, because you're thinking about this band's been around since I think 2006 is when they actually formed, but they didn't really even hit the scene until 2010, but they're already playing arenas and stadiums. And even Tobias Forge said himself, he said as a songwriter, he's like, I always want to write those kind of songs that are stadium worthy. And I think he's actually achieving that with this album, because every song to me, I could hear like in a big stadium. So
is Tobias, he's just the guitar player. He's not the singer, though.
Yeah, he's a singer. He's actually the guy that does all the Papa.
Oh, he's the one that's singing.
And he looks so different with because he wears masks and everything.
Okay.
But yeah, so
because I get confused when you say Tobias and then you say there's Papa.
Yeah, well, Tobias is
one and the same.
Yeah, Papa's the actual character, but Tobias is his real name. So yeah.
Okay, but he's the singer. He's the guitar player. He writes all the music, or the majority of the music.
I'll shoot you the link later. There's like a little 6-minute video, like it's called The History of Papa, and it kind of shows you how they started and where it goes, and let you check that out. And you'll kind of get. I even turned on a few friends that were like you, like Jude and friend Mike Rammel. Like now they're in the Ghost group with me, and they're like, this album's so catchy, I can't get it out of my head.
I think that's what bothers me a little bit about Ghost, is that there is like everywhere you look on Facebook, there's like all this ghost shit, like, and it's kind of annoying. It's like,
it is. And I thought I would get annoyed by that too, but I think, but I keep going back to the thing that this is what we need right now in rock. We need a band who's actually talking about satanic shit, religious oppression, the fucking corrupt government, the empires, but doing it in a way where they're sucking people in. Like, Stryper tries to like get metalheads into Christ because they play really good metal. Well, that's what kind of like Ghosts do, but they're doing it in a different level and more brilliant. Like they're like in fact a NASCAR freaking up down side down crosses or the Bible Belt and fucking.
But I think maybe that's kind of what turns me off to them a little bit, is that they're too pristine. I mean, obviously it's great, it's well written, but there's no like grit to it. Maybe.
Yeah, they're super clean. Even live, like it's almost like you're hearing the record. But at least live, they play really live. Like they're not using tracks or nothing. Like all those guys are the nameless ghouls, and even there's a ghouless, it's the female singers, and they're super talented too. And now on the albums, you could see the song titles. Like he'll have co-writers, and I guess some of the co-writers on this last album are actually really popular songwriters that wrote for like a bunch of different bands. And that's why it's so good.
Well, that's got to be a refreshing take. Like if you're a pop writer and you're like, oh, you want to write a song for Ghost, that's like a cool, notch on your belt, I guess.
I just think they got something really going on. Like, I might, in a month from now, you're probably, oh shit, I'm so burnt out on it now. But I don't know. I thought I'd be burnt out by now on it, but it's still, even when I see the album cover, like all of a sudden the song gets stuck in my head. Like, the darkness at the heart of my desire is such a good song. It's almost got a country music feel to it, like in the chorus, but it's just so well produced. That's another thing too. I love the production. It's just like, especially when you have really good headphones, it's just so big and just like flamboyantly nice and just like.
Well, you're certainly doing a good job of selling it. So
yeah, so they better give me some commissions and royalties. Get out there.
So if you guys out there haven't heard Ghost yet,
get out there and get Ghost Impera.
Impera, okay. Yeah. And how many albums is that do they have out?
So they have 5 studio albums out, and they got a bunch of EPs. They actually do a cool Depeche Mode cover on one of their EPs. I can't remember what song they do. Another good song they do is a cover of If You Have Ghost, You Have Everything, which I didn't know was a cover, but it's a really good song. And
I never heard that song.
It's by a Rocky Erickson, some kind of guy. I guess he passed away a few years ago, but he's some 70s songwriter guy.
Wouldn't that be funny if you just took like old songs that never made it and then turn it into a song that would make it? Like a popular band took like look up what was the worst single in 1968 and then go, we're going to make that a hit.
I bet Tobias could do it.
Completely revamp it.
That's probably what Tobias is looking. He's probably already ahead of us on that.
That's a good concept.
Yeah. And he's such a nerdy guy. Like in the interview, he just looks like a typical dude to be walking down the street, short hair, kind of. He doesn't even look metal or nothing, but it's just funny.
Well, does he do interviews without the makeup, or now that he's revealed, or?
Yeah. He's been for the past like 10 years. He's been revealed, so he's been doing a lot of interviews without the makeup, and he's very opinionated about certain things, and he's really. I can tell the guy's really into his craft, and I even tune my guitar down to D standard because I think that's what it is. Because there's a certain frequency in music that really, like they say, I think it's 432 HZ. You know how the guitar standard is A440?
Yeah.
So 432, I believe, is the frequency of the Earth and the universe, or the actual Earth. And any song that's recorded in that frequency will make you actually cry. You know, and yeah, they did scientific study on it. Yeah. And I tried to look it up and find it, but I couldn't find any songs that are recorded in that. But there's some kind of study I read about that frequency. And,
well, it just so happens that I do have that frequency.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's fucking. That's A666.
Actually, it's right here.
That's A666. Yeah, right. Yeah. So D standard is 435 HC, and that's close to the 432. So I don't know if that's maybe why this album is resonating, or why their music resonates so well, because it's that they're tuned in that frequency. And when I
wonder if they're using, or if they're implementing techniques of like Ozzy Osbourne did, of fucking shit hidden behind the tracks and subliminal messages and shit like that. Wouldn't that be funny if it comes out like in 5 years that they're that they're brainwashing people and shit? I mean, they kind of are, because it's the same thing that religion does. Yeah,
because check this out. I was listening to Sirius XM the other day. There was some show, I forgot. I just stumbled up by accident, but they were playing that Ghost song, and the chick was going off about it because first time she's heard it. And then the one DJ was saying, yeah, I've been a fan for them for the past 4 years. I went and saw them live a couple of times, and I'm a hardcore Christian, and even I feel guilty singing along to their songs because of the lyrics, but it's so good. I can't help myself. And I'm a devout Christian. I was like, that's what Tobias's plan is, man. Suck your ass in, and you're going to convert your ass to Satanism.
I wonder how many, like if you just started playing their album without saying anything who they were on like Christian radio in the middle of Texas,
I think
how many people would go, oh, I love that band. That's so great.
I bet if they didn't have their image and they were just their content was a little bit more kind of simple and stuff, with the songs they have now on this album, they'd be like freaking just up there with all the Grammys, pop artists and stuff. And
he probably studied like religious, religious music, like all the like Christian rock bands and stuff, and said, well, let me just do the exact same thing that they do, but I'll replace Jesus with Satan.
Some people are saying he's a Freemason. I don't know. What does Freemason mean? Is a Freemason?
Was it Aleister Crowley? Who was it? He wasn't a Freemason. He wasn't. He was going to be a Freemason, but he ended up being part of some other like cult like that. Where
it is possible, because they have a song called Square Hammer, and then I guess there's some Freemason references in that, because I think Square Hammer is a reference to Freemason. And then in the Call Me Little Sunshine, the new song, that's a reference to Aleister Crowley, because I think that was one of the 666, the Beast, Call Me Sunshine, Call Me Little Sunshine was a Aleister Crowley saying or something. And so,
but I always thought Freemasons were more of a religious, like they were backed by religious groups, even though they were more cultish. They were always the more like the Christian hardcore. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. I
maybe
I don't remember. It's
maybe
been
he's not a
long
Freemason,
time.
but he seemed to like touch on that subject sometimes. I think it sounds to me like he's just going, like, especially with the Catholic thing, with the whole Pope. He's like the satanic Pope, so definitely making fun of the Catholic Church.
I mean, cultism is cultism. You fall for the shit. You fall for the shit. That's just the way it goes. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're David Koresh or you're fucking, Jesus Christ.
I'll be in that Ghost group on Facebook, and there's like some of those people are acting like they're the Beatles. I guess some chicks are like, Tobias, I gotta meet him in person, and he makes me cry when I hear him. It's like,
damn.
He's Papa when he's in his makeup, not Tobias. Don't call him that.
Yeah, how dare you? You're not a real fan, you bitch.
You're not real.
Get your fucking ass out of here. No.
But, like I said, Iron Maiden's always going to be my number one, but somehow Ghost has taken over my brain for the past 2 weeks, and we'll see how long that lasts. And I never had an album that's actually just resonated with me like that. Like, I'm waiting for The Cure, because The Cure's announced a new album coming out in September.
I hope they come out with a good, like, they haven't had a really good album in a while.
He said he's got 2 albums that he's got in the can. Well, he's got one in the can and one he's got to finish. And he said the first one he's going to release is the more dark and depressing one. And then he's got one that's more poppy and upbeat. But he said he wants to release the dark and depressing one first, and because he's finishing that upbeat one.
That sounds cool.
So I'm playing live with that. Yeah, he was at the music, some alternative music awards or whatever in ME. Anyway, so he played with this band. They're called Churches, which I checked them out. They seem pretty cool. It's a chick singer, and they were kind of like Cure inspired, you could tell. But anyway, he played on stage with them, and they did a couple Cure songs, and he was actually performing really good. 60 years old now? He's still wearing his makeup, and he still look kind of cool in his makeup. He actually looks cooler now because he's all freaking old and like all a little overweight, but the hair's still frecked out. And
yeah,
so I was like, well, shit, maybe I can put some makeup on and still look all right.
He's a trans hobo.
Yeah. So I think he actually even looks cooler these days with it. But he was talking backstage, and he said, like, yeah, he's got the 2 albums in the works. He hoping to release the first one in September.
Well, I hope, I would hope that he does something good before his passing in the next 10 years.
The last time they put out, it was just called The Cure, right? It was just self-titled, I believe. And I finally got all those on CD, like more recent ones, like the 314 or whatever that one's called.
I mean, I haven't been into them after what, like 92?
But so 92 was the last Cure album you heard?
Wait, what was that one? The one with like, that was the last good album to me.
Oh yeah, the last. Oh yeah. So it was
Before Blood Flowers.
It was red with the
Friday I'm in Love.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I'm a big Cure fan. I can't even think of the damn title.
I know. It's been a while, but that was the last album I really enjoyed. Everything after that, I was just kind of like, it's okay. It sounded the same. That was the problem. Every album after that one sounded the same as that.
Wild Mood Swings I really liked. That was like probably the last one I liked. I think that's the album that came out after the one you're talking about.
Yeah, that was okay, but it still wasn't as good. It was...
Well, going back and listening to like some of those more recent ones that are just been put out in the past 20 years. How long has it been since they had an album out? 10, 15 years, but probably 30 years. Those actually sound pretty good now. Like, you know, I think some albums, you just let them sit for a long time. You go back and listen and be like, oh, I guess it is pretty good. Like, I've done that with like Foo Fighters and like, you know, some of those bands that didn't care for the 90s.
He's just got to start drinking again. Let's after he stopped drinking, that's when the album started going to shit. No, I don't want to condone alcoholism.
He needs to get back into the booze and the cocaine.
Yeah, he needs to be a crazy man. It does make you write better music. Drugs and alcohol makes you a better artist. No, I'm just kidding. Well, before we get into our next subject here, which is, you know, we're going to talk, that's our main thing we're going to be talking about today. I do want to send another shout out and a big thanks to Dee Snider. In our last episode, we talked about him. We did the One Chip Challenge and we talked about Ukraine, worldunited.live. And luckily, to our surprise, Dee Snider retweeted our YouTube video. So if you want to go check on that, go to YouTube, look up Gen X Brothers. You can see the video that we did about the One Chip Challenge and helped out Ukraine. And Dee Snider was kind enough to mention us and actually acknowledge that we exist. So
yes.
that's kind of cool.
Yes.
It's more than what you did, Davey 504.
Yeah, dude. Come on, Davey. All right, Dee Snider.
We're big fans,
all right,
man.
D, I'm challenging you, D. That's good. No, D does enough, man. I don't need to challenge him to the hot thing.
So let's go from the best person in metal music, right? Dee Snider, one of the godfathers, probably next to Ronnie James Dio, I would say, as far as his reputation and being a great person, to the worst person in alternative metal music or the whole, you know, let's go towards Marilyn Manson.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is Marilyn Manson. You sing like every song like that. Mary had a little lamb.
Yeah, he has
the
kind of
was white as snow. So you can sing every song the same, man. Oh, McDonald
he has that same
had
disposition, yeah. So I'm kind of, there are certain artists where sometimes I like their music, but I don't like the person writing the music. I don't really care for them. And then there's some people that I don't care for their music, but I really love the person. Like Ariana Grande is a good example. I really love her as a person. I've seen her on The Voice. I've seen her in interviews. I love everything she does, but her music, I'm like, you know, I'm not into it. But Marilyn Manson, I've have to admit, I've liked a few of his albums. I listened to them and, you know, I got into it and stuff. But the person, I always thought he was an asshole.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why I always thought he was an asshole.
What is that?
Because some friends of ours, I won't say who because I don't want to call anybody out, but they actually played with Marilyn Manson, actually here in Las Vegas. This was many years ago, back in the late 90s. They opened up for Marilyn Manson. And what he told me is when he did the show with Marilyn Manson, is that during sound check, right? They went into the stadium or wherever. And during sound check, Marilyn Manson was such an asshole. He made everybody turn around. They weren't allowed to look at him. Even the sound guy that was running the soundboard had to duck below the fucking soundboard and not allowed, like, while he did his thing or whatever, did the sound. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just a fucking asshole. I don't care how good your music is. I don't care what you do in your personal life or your made up believe life when you're not Brian Warner, you're Marilyn Manson. I don't give a shit. A dick is a fucking dick.
Yeah.
Don't be a fucking dick to the people you work with. Don't be a dick to the people that support you. Don't be a dick to the people that are propping you up and trying to make you the best possible artist you can be.
Yeah.
Which leads us to what we're talking about him for is the documentary called Phoenix Rising.
Phoenix Rising.
And basically what this is about the whole event. I think it was last year. Evan Rachel Wood, she was in Westworld. She's a long-term actress. I forgot a childhood actress. I forgot the name of the movie that she was in as a kid, which is when Marilyn Manson.
It took me a while to recognize who she was. I know I've seen her in things. I know I've seen her, I guess, The Wrestler.
Yeah, The Wrestler as well.
I really liked that movie. I didn't even know it was her until they mentioned it on the documentary. It's like, because she's one of those actresses that just kind of looks like every person walking down the street. Like,
yeah, she looks different in like she can become whatever role she's playing, which is great for an actress, you know. She has that ability. In this event, I watched the documentary. You watched the documentary.
Yeah.
And I have mixed feelings. I really do.
Me too.
And I want to go on record by saying this right off the bat. I do not doubt for one fucking second, not 1 second do I doubt that Marilyn Manson did everything that she said he did to her.
Exactly.
I can absolutely 100% believe that.
We believe you, Evan.
But my question to you, Erik, is since you're a drug and alcohol counselor,
certified,
is at what point does an addict have responsibility for their own actions and getting themselves into their own mess, right? Because obviously she was a drug addict. She admitted that part of the reason she was with him is because there were a lot of drugs there. And obviously she went along with that.
Yeah.
But it's like, if let's say there's a hooker, a sex worker for the correct terminology, but she's addicted to drugs. So she goes and sleeps with a bunch of guys so she can feed her addiction. Now she gets AIDS because of that.
Yeah.
Now, is she responsible because she was careless without using protection? She got AIDS because she only cared about doing drugs at the time? Or is it the guy's fault because, you know, he didn't know he had AIDS, but he was having unprotected sex with a call girl?
Are you victim blaming, man? I'm just kidding.
I see. That's where I'm on the fence. I want to know.
You know, it's a case by case
where the response, because it doesn't all lie with Marilyn Manson.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he's not. I will go on record. He's a dick, and I'm sure he's an asshole. I'm sure he abused her, and I'm sure she was manipulated at some point. But where is the responsibility with her for staying with him for 4 years?
Yeah, it's hard to say, and I wish we had like a female perspective on this, you know, as far as joining us and everything. But it's hard to say. I mean, yeah, you're right. It's like, you know, she put herself in a certain position. I always say that about myself. Like, you know, I used to blame everybody for the things that happened to me while I was addicted, and you know, all the stuff I lost. You know, the apartment that I lived in North Hollywood, and I was blaming my roommates for stealing it all and stuff like that, or taking it, or you know. But I put myself in that position, and it took me a while to realize that I have to take some accountability as well. We were all fucked up at the time, and you know, and I could have got help when I got help, but I didn't. But you know,
well, it's like with the documentary, obviously,
but I think it's different for a woman's perspective. You know, someone that's in an abusive relationship, they really do feel like scared. You know, in a sense of like, well, what can they do? You know, like she was saying that even if she got a restraining order, she was afraid to do that because it'd piss him off even more. And it's like, well, you realize that you're protected, and like, I mean, restraining order ain't always 100% because like, obviously anybody could break those restraining orders, but at the same time, it's like she should have. Well, again, tried.
I'm not saying, I'm not making excuses for Marilyn Manson. I'm not saying he shouldn't be punished for what he did, because obviously he abused her. He did some shit that shouldn't have been done. And I'm not saying she's at fault for going along with it. I'm not saying, I'm just trying to understand it.
Yeah.
Try to, I guess, play in religious terms, the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
As to like, okay, so in the beginning, they try to use these terms. Like the documentary, I thought somewhat revealing, but then somewhat it was kind of hokey.
Him making the racial shit would have been a deal breaker for me.
That's what I was saying. That's the biggest revolution for me. Is like, why is he not canceled based on all the like Nazi and fucking using the N word?
He was playing with that little black doll or whatever, laughing at it like a little ancient mama looking doll. I think it was like.
And even some of the footage, he was in blackface.
Yeah, in blackface
on live on stage, and it's like, why is nobody calling him out on that shit?
And it's like,
but the point is that in the beginning they used words like he was grooming her, and they used the terminology as grooming as somebody who purposely manipulates somebody and tricks them. And I don't buy that. You know, that's a terminology used for like pedophiles and shit like that. Like if you're a predator and you're seeking victim after victim after victim, then I would say, oh, you're a groomer. You're grooming somebody to abuse them and go on to the next one. I'm not saying Marilyn Manson wasn't abusive, and I'm not saying he didn't do stupid shit. He's fucked up. You know, he had a fucked up childhood.
Well, I mean, grooming can come in all forms, I think. You know, like when I sent you that Ghost stuff, I was trying to groom you into being a fan.
So I guess what I'm saying is that I hate when they use certain terminology to explain something.
Yeah.
When, you know, I'm not trying to defend Marilyn Manson. I again, they should have went about it in a different way.
Yeah.
It seemed to like as if he went after her on the purpose of, listen, he went after her because she was cute, and he went after her because he was a guy and he wanted to have sex with her or have a relationship with her. Because at some point she said, oh, he was icky and he was 37 years old and I was only 18. So I was making fun of him. But then you kept going at like, come on.
And where's the, I guess the timeline, because like I said, when we kind of didn't know Marilyn Manson, but like we knew, you know, Tony's girlfriend worked for him, or she worked for Dita. And at that time, they were together. And this must have been what? Because I guess Rachel or Evan Rachel was saying that this whole thing happened in about 2008, 2009, maybe? Yeah,
it was during like the split up between them and that music video. Because I guess that was the most horrendous part, is the fact that he did that music video, which I completely understand. They did a music video and he basically had sex with her live on camera and nobody knew about it.
Yeah, he was like quickly raping her or whatever.
Which she was unaware of because, you know, obviously, and I could completely understand, because you're in the moment and you're like thinking, what's going on here? I wasn't expecting this to happen.
Yeah.
I feel for her in what she went through. The fact that I don't know. I'm just really confused on, like you said, the timeline, because she had left him.
And it sounded like
she went back.
It sounded like Marilyn Manson was still with Dita because she was saying something about she was in a little bit of a triangle with them. So he must have been.
Yeah, in the beginning, yeah.
Our friend,
like the first year or something.
Yeah, our friend that used to work for Dita said that Marilyn Manson, she never really saw him being abusive, but she said he was pretty much like a dick. Like she would always make him like, or he would always make her make his coffee every morning, press his pants, or like if he had to go somewhere, it's almost like he made her work for him when she was supposed to be working for Dita, you know?
Yeah.
And she was one of Dita's like girls on stage or whatever. Like whenever she did her shows, her burlesque shows, she was one of her girls on stage, her personal assistant, and pretty cool.
Well, maybe Dita was more of the type of person that could keep Marilyn Manson under control, because she wouldn't put up with no shit.
Yeah.
Whereas if you get an 18-year-old girl who doesn't really know better, who all they wanted, or who is subjective to drug addiction. Like, okay, there's something that didn't make sense to me, and maybe somebody out there can explain it to me because I'm ignorant, and I'll admit that openly. She said, right, she was explaining how she went back to him, and as she went back to him, she then apologized, and then he apologized, and then they went into this room, and then she knew right there what was going to happen, that he tied her up to like a church pew or something like that, and then started whipping her, and then took like a cattle prod or something like that, like electrocution to her private parts until she passed out. And she said something. She said, at that moment, I said, I'm just going to listen to him. I'm just going to do whatever he says to make him feel comfortable, so that way I can get out of that situation.
Yeah.
And I can be on my own. But then the next scene, she said something where she was still with him for another year.
Wow.
So that's where I was confused. I was like, wait, if that's a defining moment for you to get out, why were you then there for another? Like, I didn't understand that. I don't understand the timeline.
Have you bought his last record, We Are Chaos or whatever? I bought it at Target. I haven't even listened to it yet. But I was never really a fan even before this whole thing. I was just like,
why would you buy it?
I don't know. Because I like that one song. I was like, well, you know what? It actually sounded pretty good now. Maybe I'll go check it out. But then then that's when all this stuff started kind of hitting. And I was like, I don't know if I want to listen, because I had Antichrist Superstar was the only album I ever owned by him, and I used to kind of force myself to like it just because maybe I got to show I like Marilyn Manson because everyone else does. But I just can't ever. It's his voice. I just can't. To me, it sounds it's pretentious. It sounds fake. Like it just sounds like it sounds like a cartoon character singing. It doesn't sound like he really even cares about writing a song or singing a song really well. Who knows if he even writes his own music? Maybe leaves it up to band members or whatever. He's too doped up and drugged out to even care. I mean, I can tell he puts his stuff into it. Obviously, with his lyrics, I can appreciate what he contributes to metal and rock and goth.
He's more of an artist than a musician.
Yeah,
I would say
the artistic fact of it. I mean, the fact he's doing something right to have all these fans and sell the records he sold, but then Donald Trump, he did something right to get all of his following as well. That doesn't mean Donald Trump's any better. but as far as his music, it just never really did nothing for me. And I try to get into it.
The only album I liked was that. What was it, Holly Weird or something like that?
Yeah, I even tried to get into that. I just couldn't. He's like Cantaloupe. Like I could never get into Cantaloupe. I try to get into Cantaloupe. I try to eat a piece, and I think I'm going to like it this time. And then I'll eat it, and I just don't like it. So he's like the same thing. Let me hear some. Like I heard about that album, and said, let me check it out. Maybe I'll like him this time. Nah, I didn't care for him. And
See, now again, I'm making some bold statements on both ends. It sounds like I'm defending Marilyn Manson and not. And again, I don't mean to. I'm being ignorant in this sense because this is what's going on in my brain as I'm watching it. And as I'm watching, the end of the first episode is really good, and then the beginning of the second episode is really good. And then towards the end of the second episode, it gets really fucking weird. Like it almost seems like. Now, this is just my take. It could be completely false, but this is what I thought when I was watching. And I'm just going to be as honest as possible. I don't mean to offend any women out there or anyone like that.
But you will.
I'm just being honest.
Don't say anything. Just kidding.
Well, too bad. I'm going to fucking say something because that's what this show is about.
I don't mean to sound racist, but don't say anything because you're going to sound racist.
Yeah, well, I'm not. I'm just trying to say that these are my honest thoughts in my head, and it's not like I'm trying to be a dick or anything. But it almost seemed like towards the end of it that she was making it bigger than what it was. Like, oh, I got to go hide and go into hiding because his fans are going to kill me or something. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like there was this weird.
Yeah, she started packing
up
her
almost
house.
seemed like a weird charade. Like she doesn't want to be with Marilyn Manson because he's abusive.
Yeah.
But she still wants to be with him. So the only connection she has is to do this documentary and still keep that chase going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so that way Marilyn Manson is in my life.
She got back with that first love of her life, and it seemed like then all of a sudden it didn't work out too well. Spoiler alert, but for anybody who didn't see it. But anyway, that kind of makes me think like, is it because of this documentary? Is what obviously she was filming this thing.
Like she's obsessed. It's almost like she's obsessed with Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, and that guy probably couldn't take it. He's like, fuck you, gotta get out of here.
Well, at the beginning of the series, she says, "I don't want him to get arrested. I don't want anything to happen to him. I just want to tell my story." That was at the beginning, and then at the end, it was like, "I want him to be arrested. I want the FBI to take him out. I want it was like it was a weird switch, which I don't know.
Yeah.
I that's just what was going through my head when I was watching. I was like, what, it took a weird turn that it didn't seem.
I mean, I believe everything she's saying, but part of me was starting to feel like this is like a SNL skit, like, like one of those fake documentaries about people or something. That it's almost like it was too, like she's an actress, so it felt like she was acting in certain parts, even though she's telling the truth, but she was doing it in a way
towards the end,
like being dramatic. Yeah, towards the end and being a little bit too dramatic, like this is theater. I gotta put on.
Like when she was telling the story in front of the other groups of women that were abused by Marilyn Manson, you could tell it really affected her, and you can tell it really bothered her when she got into the story of being whipped and she started to break down. So that I believe 100%, but I think there's some part of her that's not over him. There's a weird obsession with him, and she doesn't want to let that go. Like, in order for her to heal, she's got to let him go. She's got to let even though obviously he should pay the price if he did do what she said. If he did do that without her consent, without, against her will, then certainly something should be done about it. But at the same time, for her, she's got to let it go, man. Because you could tell she's still obsessed with it.
Let it go. Is there a song called that?
Yeah. Let it go.
Is that the Frozen song?
Oh, is it? I don't know what I do. But I don't know. That again, that's my perspective, a middle-aged male perspective.
For some reason, I was thinking she was the same chick that was going after Johnny Depp for abuse or whatever, but I think that's different.
No, that was some supermodel chick. I can't.
For some reason, I kept thinking they were the same person until I watched the documentary. Like I said, she kind of looks to me like I don't recognize her in any movie because she probably does play a lot of different roles, but just she looks like any normal person walking down the street. Like I wouldn't know her by her name. Like some actors are like that. Like,
but it is such a weird concept that she's addicted to drugs. She's, how much of it is she responsible for putting herself into that position? Even though, again, he's abusive, he's manipulative, but you're going into it and you are, is that part of the addiction? Like if you're addicted to drug, like when you were drinking all the time, I'm sure there were certain rituals that you had to do in order to keep drinking. Is part of the ritual of doing drugs and abusing yourself, having the abnormal sex or the abusive sex abuse and things like that.
Yeah, definitely making choices you wouldn't normally make. Like the stuff I did back when I was drinking, like shoplifting and, lying to people and stealing certain things. And like, there's no way I could do that now. Like, there's no way, like, I can't see myself ever doing that again. But under the influence, you're not thinking about that because you're just thinking about that. What you got to do to get high and drunk.
Could the same thing be said about Marilyn Manson in his defense? Is that because like he was abused as a child, or he had a horrible childhood. He was addicted to, or he is addicted to drugs or alcohol. Because every interview I hear, he's almost always drunk.
Yeah, he's always coming down from something. And the fact that they did mention meth on there, like she said that he was putting meth in some of the drugs that they were doing, and that was her first time doing meth. And I could tell, one meth person that does meth and stuff, it could tell another person, just by the way they look and how they're coming down on it. And
so it's like Marilyn Manson is a drug addict. He's under the influence and she's under the influence. So obviously he's going to be crazy and she's going to be non-attentive. Like it's a weird thing. Like where do you draw the line and what, it's tough. It's tough for a court of law because you need substantial facts. You need substantial evidence in order to convict him, in order to,
he did file the defamation suit. So this is going to be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Because he said that whole FBI thing was fake, and it looked fake to me because she goes into the FBI building and then they show like this weird, they cut from her going into the FBI building, right? Like she's walking in there, and then they cut to her sitting in this office chair, like as if it was the FBI, but obviously the FBI is not going to let you film in there. So clearly it wasn't the FBI interview. And she's like, re-explaining what she did, like as if she was explaining it to the FBI, like pulling her hair and doing this weird stuff. And I thought, man, I don't know. Like you said, it seemed like acting to me. And that's what turned me off to the whole thing. And I was just like, oh, come on.
For the record, Marilyn Manson ripped off everything from Will-O-Wisp and Rebel and all those bands in Hollywood. The minute he got signed, he sent scouts to all the shows to fucking take notes. And you ever hear about that? Some guy told me about that new Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
He said he used to send Daisy Berkowitz, a guitar player. I think that's the name of the guitar player. Berkowitz used to send them.
They used to go to our shows.
And then they would like sort of take ideas and
yeah, I mean, or get in, again, ripping somebody off and being influenced. That's a tough.
Well, Tony sent Marilyn Manson a demo tape of us way before Marilyn Manson became Marilyn Manson. He used to have a fanzine in Florida called, I forgot what it was called, but because Tony always used to send her demos to fanzines, and Brian Werner was one of them. I forgot what that fanzine was that kind of got him discovered by Trent Reznor. And then Tony actually mentioned it to Marilyn when we did he did a signing or something, and a book signing for that book that he had.
Uh-huh.
And Tony's like, yeah, remember I sent you my demo? And I guess Marilyn said, yeah, I remember that. I remember getting that from you guys. So I'm wondering maybe he could have took some ideas from us on that.
I'm sure he took ideas from everybody when he said, well, I mean, because again, you could say somebody stole something, but
I stole a lot of stuff from the Japanese metal bands a lot of my look came from taking stuff from when I used to just open up those magazines and Tower Records and those cool Japanese bands that had like a cool look, but their music wasn't glam or nothing. Their music was thrash or heavy or progressive, but you're looking at their image and they have spiked hair and makeup on, like, really glammy looking. And I took that idea from them. Well,
because when you set out to be the most outrageous person on the air and be this persona, then yeah, you got to kind of take a little bit from here and a little bit from there. I don't know if I remember this correctly, and I apologize if I do, but I remember that when, you talk to Marilyn Manson in interviews, and they mention influences like Christian Death and things like that. Yeah. They all like kind of denied. And the only one that actually admitted to liking like old school Gothic bands was Jonathan Davis from Korn, because I remember him saying, "Oh yeah, I fucking grew up on Christian Death, Roz Williams and Bauhaus and shit like that." And I was like, "Whoa, this guy's actually admitting it when all these other bands are basically ripping off the same, that shock value, and none of them want to admit that that's one of their influences." So I don't know if I'm correct on that with Marilyn Manson, but I
always trip out that music was around when I was listening to like Motley Crue and Twisted Sister and things like that. And you get that first Christian Death album, you see it, it was released in 1983. That's like the year Shout the Devil came out, and here I had no clue it even existed. But
yeah, or even in the 70s, wasn't it?
I think 70. Well, if you think about the Cure as being the godfathers of goth, they started in 78 and then Susie and the Banshees, obviously, and the Christian Death probably formed in like the late 70s. But just did you hear that new song though that came out with Valor?
No, I didn't. I don't.
It's horrible, man. It starts out kind of good. Really? It starts out good. I'm thinking like, okay, this is nice sounding. And then she starts singing the chick. I don't know who this chick singer is. I don't know if it's who is a female singer. Is it Gail?
Damone. Wait,
Gil Damone or what her name is? Gil Gatane or something like that. Is she still? Yeah, whoever that singer is, it's kind of horrible sound. It's just, it sounds like they're trying to get that old school Christian Death sound, but it's just not working for some reason.
Isn't that his wife now or
probably,
something? Like,
and then
I don't remember.
It starts out really nice, like the way he's playing like some kind of, I think he's playing the acoustic or whatever. It sounds like really good. Like, oh, this is gonna be good. And all of a sudden the verse comes in, like, oh shit,
just disappoints
like,
you.
Goodbye.
Oh, Valor, stop disappointing.
Yeah, a lot of people. There's that whole thing, man. If you like Valor, you're fucking fuck you, motherfucker. I like a lot of stuff that Valor did, and I love all the hate. That's the first time I heard Valor. That all the hate album. I just thought it was brilliant that he did one album was heavy, the other album was gothic and moody.
Well, I think when you listen to Christian Death,
I like his voice better.
Valor's contribution to their guitar wise when Roz Williams was singing was fucking amazing. That's when he's a great guitar player. That's the thing. And I think his ego got to him to say, "Oh, I'm going to run the whole band." Yeah. I mean, obviously if you don't know the story of Christian Death, basically Roz Williams was a drug addict. Mm-hmm. They're on tour in France or Paris or some shit like that. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Roz says, "I got to go home," because he couldn't get drugs or something. I don't know the whole story, and I'm paraphrasing, of course. So he leaves, and Valor says, "Hey, if you're going to leave me, I just left. I quit my own band. I sold everything I had to come up here to Europe and tour and do this. And now you're leaving me high and dry. So if you're going to do that,
take it over.
I'm going to take over the band."
Yeah.
And Roz was like, "Fuck it, take over the band." That's a story that I heard many times.
Yeah, that's a story that I could respect that.
And so that's why I understand Valor's side while he's like, "Hey, I put all my shit into this and you're belling on me, dude. I deserve something, so I'm going to do it."
To be honest, I'm not a fan of Roz's voice. I appreciate him as a poet. I love him as what he does, for what he's contributed to. I just can't, his voice, and I can only handle so much of it. Like, I like some of the songs, but I can't listen to.
You have to be in a certain mood.
Yeah, it's like the whole thing. Like every song, like, he sings it the same, and I guess I have to really. I think I have to be really into his poetry to really appreciate it.
See, I think that's where it's different on the albums where Valor plays guitar. If you look at Catastrophe Ballet, or I think it's Ashes.
I think I remember that one being really good. It's the first time I think.
Those are really great music songs, and Roz Williams does a great job of vocalizing and it's really fucking cool.
I think I need to go back and listen to those again, because it's been years since I listened to it. But I just got the reissue of that first album just a couple of weeks ago, and put it on, and it's cool. Like I said, I can only handle like certain songs.
Yeah, that's you. It's kind of like Diamanda Galas.
Yeah.
Diamanda Galas is great. You understand what she's doing, but you got to be in a certain mood to hear that shit, or you're just like, fuck.
The only thing I liked really from Diamanda is when she did that kind of album with a bunch of different singers.
The blues, the blues album. That's the best fucking album ever. That's my favorite.
Really good songs in there. It's like, if she just did all that type of music, I'd really.
Yeah. She's so talented. Just do that. It's the same thing with Lady Gaga. You hear her do her pop shit, but then when you hear her play, just the piano and her singing, you're like, holy shit, this girl is fucking amazing.
Yeah, she's a metalhead. She should do some metal stuff. Maybe her and Ghost to do something.
Well, I guess today's episode is pretty much an all music episode if you think about it.
So I think people, music lovers out there, are gonna love us even more.
Let's fucking end the show on a good note. You told me that there's a new Bauhaus song
since
out,
we're on
right?
the subject of Gothic and Marilyn Manson and Christian Death and The Cure, and Bauhaus, which
it's called "Drink the New Wine" or something.
Yeah, "Drink the New Wine." I guess it just came out. It's a song from what I understand they recorded during the pandemic. I didn't even know they were still around. Last time I heard, I haven't even heard Peter Murphy, any of his recent music in a long time. I was just making this point the other day. Some lady in the grocery store, I had my Iron Maiden shirt on. She's like, "Oh, I love Iron Maiden, this and that." And I go, "Yeah, I just saw Bruce Dickinson do his spoken word a couple of weeks ago, and she was looking at me like I was speaking Spanish. Like she didn't understand what I was saying. I was like,
what
the fuck? It could be an Iron Maiden fan and not know what's going on with the band. It's like I bugs the shit out of me.
Well, I mean,
so I'm with same with Bauhaus. Like some guys was like, "Well, you haven't heard Bauhaus in a long time," or they're still doing things.
I don't know if you were aware of this, but Peter Murphy, when he comes to America, and I think even when he plays abroad,
last time he came here,
Turkey,
get a DUI or something.
Yeah,
wish I would add him as a client.
Well, actually, Roman's old bass player, Jeff, he's the one that plays bass for Peter Murphy.
Yeah,
so
pretty cool.
He got me tickets a long time ago to go see Peter Murphy at the House of Blues in Anaheim.
You need to buy some of his more recent albums, or at least listen to them.
Yeah, and what was cool about that concert is it was the last time I got to see, or the last time I saw Typo Negative right before he passed away, which was kind of cool. So I think it was like a year or two before he passed away.
I did get to see Bauhaus when they reunited back in like 2004, maybe it was, or 3, and they played the Palladium in LA. It was that's the last time I saw Bauhaus. And that was actually the first time I ever saw Bauhaus live, was when Peter Murphy joined them, and they got back together for that short period. And I think they even put out an album at that time, whether it was a remix album or something, I can't remember, but they were really good. And I remember seeing Peter Murphy.
But I know Jeff, he played bass for, he probably still does play bass for Peter Murphy. Jeff is a really cool guy.
Yeah, I remember Jeff.
I don't know if he still has his dreads.
I remember seeing Peter Murphy a few years ago, like in a music video. And I think, wow, he's actually looking like an old man now. Because before you always just see him as looking like this vampire guy, like he's always going to look the same, but
skinny.
But this time he actually looked like an old dude with like a balding head and kind of more weight put on, but he still had the good.
He just gave up. He's all fuck it.
Still got that good
I'm giving up. I need money. Well, let's hear the new song. I mean, it's from Bauhaus. It's not Peter Murphy.
Yeah. So everyone knows, everyone out there, we haven't listened to the song yet, and I thought, let's do like a first listen.
Now, more than likely, I'll probably have to cut this out of our YouTube video. If you're listening to this on YouTube, the music might be cut out because otherwise they copyright that shit. So.
Bell-bottom blues. No pain, no pain. I'll never see the boys again. 'Cause I'm off to the funny farm. Drowned out the blues with booze. Now it's off to the funny farm. I got news for you. Now I'm off to the funny farm. Cascade of crisis.
It's got a good vibe to it.
Yeah. I don't think that's Peter Murphy singing though, right?
You don't think so?
I don't think. It sounds to me as like it's going to be either Daniel Ash, maybe. Is Peter Murphy?
Yeah, it does kind of sound like.
That doesn't sound like Peter Murphy to me. That's definitely a Bauhaus bass line.
Yeah, that sounded more like, what was their band?
Remember Daniel Ash had that one band called, what were they called?
I know, I hate fucking forgetting shit, man.
Even I don't sound like this.
I mean, at least it's got a good music build-up,
Yeah.
Instead of just jumping into some chorus, it's more like their old school stuff.
Yeah, we'll see. It can't be Peter Murphy though. We'll have to read about it after this and see.
Yeah.
See who's actually in the band these days. Was that always a 3-piece or a 4-piece? They're always a 4-piece, right? Because they had Daniel Ash, Peter Murphy, and then that bass player with the glasses, and then whoever was the drummer.
I'm trying to read the thing while we're listening to it.
Everyone making a big deal, like I heard they were talking about, Bauhaus got a new song out. Bauhaus got a new song out. Is it with Peter Murphy? Or is it just Daniel Ash and the guys calling themselves Bauhaus?
Maybe they won the legal battle.
Yeah, maybe that's something like it's going to be another LA Guns, Riley's LA Guns, rough cut.
See, that sounds like it should be him, but it doesn't sound like him.
Like that sounded a little bit more like him than that. But then Daniela has kind of a voice like that too. Rolls the dice, the roulettista rolls.
It says the 4 members sharing audio files.
Yeah, no, that's Peter Murphy. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they were each singing or something.
Yeah, that's Peter Murphy for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely Peter Murphy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm happy he's actually.
Yeah, and it's actually sounding better. At first I was thinking, I don't know about this song. I might be able to hate it. Yeah, that's Peter Murphy.
Well, I guess it's kind of cool that they're each contributing.
Yeah, so if it, it could be like Daniel Ash singing and Peter Murphy, and maybe whoever if that blonde guy sings for the bass player.
I always love his bass lines.
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
They're fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, they're really cool.
We talk in dreams.
He's done some stuff with Tom Wayer, Celtic Frost, and I think some other like metal bands. Oh no, he did an album with he was the guy that wrote Watchmen, the writer Alan Moore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he has a band with Alan Moore.
Not building a wall.
Oh, Love and Rockets.
Love and Rockets. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, look it up.
I was racking my brain this whole time trying to. I just knew there was somebody in a bee outfit. I was gonna say, is it bee something? Or?
Yeah, Love and Rockets. So it could be Daniel Ash singing and in the beginning, and maybe Peter Murphy comes in and does his part.
Yeah, well, that was definitely Daniel Ash in the beginning for sure.
It's a trippy song. It's
I think it's got that.
It's definitely not a hit. It's like.
No, but I don't want Bauhaus to write hits. Fuck.
Well, even like there's, but even like their most disjointed songs, they had that hook in there somewhere, and I couldn't. I don't know. That's just me. I'm always looking for the hook in a song.
But when was the last time they wrote something together, like a new album or new? So maybe that's a beginning of something that could be. Yeah, because all of their albums always had like weird shit like that, and then they had 2 or 3 songs that were really good, really hooky.
Yeah, that's true.
But that was the whole point. It's a concept album. That's what you love about a band back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, is that they would write a concept album. You'd have 2 good songs, but you weren't there just for those 2 good songs. You wanted to hear the whole picture.
Well, what I like about Bauhaus is that when they do a good song, they still do have like that weird kind of verse, or they'll have like a weird type of stuff going on. And I've always liked songs that do that. I always like a song that has like an uncatchy verse or uncatchy intro, but then come in with some kind of hooky chorus or just some kind of little hook that kind of separates it all and then goes back into the weirdness. So I've always liked that kind of, and Bauhaus was always good at that.
So speaking of that, I think that's the element that kind of turns me off to Ghost, is because I don't think they have that element. I think they have all the perfectness without the oddity.
Yeah, to them, it's like every part of the song has to be a hook, it seems like.
Yeah, that's like it's too perfect for your brain. I like some rawness, some weird shit going on the side. That's what attracts me to the music that I like. Maybe that's why I'm not the biggest Ghost fan when it comes to that, to bring it back full circle.
yeah, that's true.
All right, so everybody, you heard it here first, or actually you didn't. I'm sure you heard it on YouTube.
We heard
first,
it here. We heard it here first.
Yeah, we heard it here first. Drink the new wine.
Drink the new wine.
It was out 2 days ago.
Yep, I'm 10 years sober, so I gotta just look at the new wine.
Yeah,
I can't drink it. I gotta look at the new wine.
Well, wine could be code for blood, since they're vampires.
Yeah.
They're gothic vampires.
Yeah, definitely got to go back and listen to some more recent Peter Murphy too. Because I know, like the last time, I think that was that album called The Lion or something. It had something to do with the lion in the title.
Yeah, I never remember any song. I'm sorry, but when I listen to music, I never remember a song title. I never remember an album. I just don't.
I don't even have any Peter Murphy in my vinyl collection. I need to.
I have them in my Spotify
Yeah,
collection.
I think I do too. I definitely.
I have everything in my
I
Spotify
need
collection.
to Touch You Up in there or whatever the other album is. Two big hits.
I'm just saying because Spotify has it. I don't need an album collection.
You got the million collection.
Yeah. It's all in there. Fuck, man.
Do you listen to?
But yeah, I thought it was a cool song.
Do you listen
man.
to iTunes too and Spotify? You just listen to Spotify? Because I just noticed that.
No, just Spotify.
I switched to iTunes because I noticed a huge difference in the sound. I noticed now, like I was comparing albums or whatever, or songs or whatever. I'd play it to Spotify and I'd play it on iTunes. And Spotify, now I know that they compress their music pretty crazily. Like, because iTunes is like.
Well, I know that they compress it based on us uploading the music because I know that you have to, it would tell me a certain compression rate to keep under when we processed our music before we uploaded it. So I know they compressed the shit out of it. But I didn't know Apple didn't.
Yeah.
So
Apple to me just sounds better for some reason. That's why I've just mostly been streaming on Apple now. But I still got my Spotify.
I mean, the only time I listen to Apple is when, okay, so the greatest, I don't know if people are aware of this, but you know, if you don't want Spotify, if you don't want Apple, what I used to do before there was all these streaming services, I would go to the library and I would borrow their CDs because they let you loan the CDs out to you. And then I would pop it in my computer and load it into my Apple or iTunes or whatever the fuck it is. And then I would just put it on my phone or my iPod or
You're
wherever the fuck it was.
Stealing from the library.
But they lent it out. It was free. So, you know, so that was how I got my music collection. Was fucking from the library.
Any genre of music there too.
Yeah, it was great. They always had a great selection in whatever city I lived in.
Except for black metal.
know?
Only if you could find black metal in the library. Well, maybe you can. probably by now, I wonder.
I'm trying to think. There was a couple of. I remember there being a Mayhem CD and a Immortal.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, in Portland, the big one in Portland or in Beaverton, that big library there. They had a huge section, but you had to go into the kids section of the library. There was like a kids section, and then they had like all like, you know, they had hardcore rap, they had black metal, they had hardcore metal, you know, Cradle of Filth, that type of shit and stuff. So I probably still have it in my computer because I would just take them, I'd pop it in there, and I wouldn't even listen. I would just pop it in there and let it process while I was working and stuff. And then later on, I'd be like, oh, I got all this music. I can listen to it later on, you know, because they let you take like 20 CDs at a time. So fuck, you know.
Look what I got in the mail. Death Nuts. For everyone that I did the Hot Chips Challenge last time.
Oh, shit.
Maybe in a few weeks when I get the balls up, I'm going to take the Death Nut Challenge. It's supposed to be way hotter than the chip.
Is it Death Nuts or is it These Nuts?
These Nuts. These Nuts. 3.0.
These hot nuts.
So this is 3.0. I guess there's a 2.0 that was before this. So this is 3.0 supposed to be hotter. But,
so what's the difference? It's a nut instead of a chip,
yeah,
right?
it's
but
a pack of
same.
nuts actually. So there's it looks like there's 3 little bags of nuts. So I guess it's for multiple users.
But would you think a nut would be easier to take than a chip? Because a chip is big, you know, there's a lot of spice on that.
Well,
but
I think the
nut's
idea
like
with this is you're
big.
supposed to take it's a little handful of nuts. I think you're supposed to eat them all at once. So anyone out there, stay tuned for this. We'll be doing it. We'll think of something cool to do it with.
So basically, we're waiting for another war. We're waiting for another country, for Russia to invade, and then we'll do it for that. Another good cause.
We're not gonna.
Come on, D. Snyder, give us another cause to fight for.
and we're not going to nominate Davey 504 because he didn't take us up on the last challenge.
He probably didn't even see it. You know,
he's a very busy man, slapping that bass all day long.
Yeah, we love him regardless.
Yeah,
so
he's cool. We'll
talk shit, but we still love him because he's badass.
He's like an inhuman. Like I've seen even some of the bass players he has on. I'm thinking, how does a human being play that way? I could practice 1,000 hours a day or a freaking year or every day and never ever come close to doing something like that.
Yeah, if you have some ideas on how Erik can take your hot nuts into his mouth.
Hot death nuts into your mouth or into my mouth.
If you have some ideas, then leave it in the comments. Send us an email at genxbros@gmail.com. And we will be happy to consider it.
Just dare. I'll do just about anything. Anything Jackass will do, I'll do even better.
He'll get kicked in the nuts while eating the hot nuts.
Kicked in the nuts while eating the hot nuts. Oh shit! You just gave him an idea. Everyone would be like, "Yeah, do that, man." Luckily, I have no one here to kick me in the nuts.
No, we're not that crazy.
I touch my nuts with it, and that'll burn my nuts off.
So whatever ideas you have, send them our way. Yeah. We'll definitely put them up for consideration.
You should invite a viewer on to do it with me.
If you can get somebody, go for it. Some idiot. Just pay some homeless guy $20.
Send us your contact, and we'll have you come on and get you. We'll compete and see who can last the longest.
Wouldn't that be a cruel thing to do? Say, yeah, we're gonna feed you some peanuts, but don't tell them they're the hot nuts. Because we used to do that to our employees. If you remember Wesley.
Oh yeah, good old Wesley.
Wesley, an employee of ours, he would eat these burritos off of the food truck. And he would bring it to his desk, and then he would get up and get some coffee and stuff. So one time, a friend of mine, Jim, he took that super fucking hot sauce and he poured it inside of his burrito when he went to get up to get some coffee. And then we just sat and watched him, and he was just sweating, and he didn't know what was going. Like, he didn't complain or anything. He's just eating it and go, and then sweat, and then we're laughing our fucking ass off and
they
shit.
Sure made it pretty spicy this time.
I know, but I paid good money for this. I'm gonna eat this motherfucker.
I ain't complaining.
So we should do that. You pull a homeless guy off the street and tell him you're going to feed him some nuts. And
that's nut for the homeless. Homeless foundation.
No, don't do that, guys. That's cruel.
Yes,
that's a bad idea.
Yes.
I'm good at coming up with bad ideas, but I never execute them.
No, don't take our bad ideas out of context, and then we'll be on the 6 o'clock news. We'll be on breaking news, CNN. Hey, you notice like CNN, everything is a breaking news. You ever notice that? Like,
yeah, like how much fucking
they'll be on a
news
story for
have,
like 3 hours, and they'll go to a commercial and they'll come back, breaking news, and they'll be like right back to the same story they were just talking about. How is it breaking news?
How is that breaking?
It's like everything's breaking news.
Or I hate that they do one story in the morning and they run that same story every hour. Like, there's more news.
Yeah, like why do they
in
even
the fucking
why are
world
they
than
doing
just
reruns
one
when there's
story?
like shit's going on right now, and we were catching a fucking rerun of Anderson Cooper, and it's like
Anderson Cooper is saying the same thing that Aaron Burnett said, the same thing that Jake Tapper said, the same thing that fucking Wolf Blitzer said. They're all saying the same fucking thing, dude. Talk about something different.
That's right, man.
Shit.
CNN, the trusted news source. That's Darth Vader doing it. That's the what's his name?
James Earl Jones.
Darth Vader.
The most trusted name in news. Because I was Darth Vader, so I'm telling the
truth. So everyone out there
truth.
who hates CNN but loves Star Wars, just know that it's Darth Vader telling you that they're the most trusted news source.
Darth Vader, the most hated villain in film history, is telling you that that's the most trusted name in news. Fucking irony, man. Fucking irony. Stupid motherfuckers.
For Donald Trump.
All the way
Donald
around.
Trump.
I can say this for sure. Left, right, middle, everyone's a fucking moron. I'm sorry. Myself included. I include myself into that.
We're more on than off, but we're all morons.
Yes, we're all fucking morons. So, all right, everybody. Thank you for listening to the show. We appreciate your support. Make sure you follow us everywhere you can. And we will talk to you next week.
Yes. Peace out.